What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And on this gloomy Sunday, we are going to be reviewing this book right here, which is Elon Musk by Ashlee Vance. This book, it came out on May 19th, 2015. The suggested retail on this one is $17 US and $21 Canadian. It's also 402 pages. So let's jump in. All right, so this book, if you know me, you know that Elon is somebody that I look up to, a lot. And that's just because of it's because of his selflessness. So this book starts off with Ashlee Vance, the guy that wrote the book, and he had a meeting with Elon. And basically, he had a meeting with Elon at a restaurant, and he basically pitched the idea. He said, you know what, Elon, I want to write a book on you. Is it okay? This, that, whatever. And Elon said it was okay, but he wanted to be able to write footnotes just for accuracy, which it's understandable, right? Because basically what Ashlee was going to do is he was going to contact former employees of Elon, like from PayPal and SpaceX and Tesla, all these other places, and he was going to ask them, I don't know what he was going to ask them, but he was going to ask them about Elon, about their time when they worked there, and all those types of things. So to ensure accuracy, he wanted to add notes in the book, throughout the book, for accuracy. So, and I don't know, I guess you could say at the same time that could make him a control freak, kind of, I guess you could say. So he had a pretty regular childhood, whatever, he just went to school, and it was that was basically it. So then he wanted to move with his uncle in Montreal, but he didn't know that his uncle had left Montreal to go live in Minnesota before he got to Montreal, which left him homeless, if you want to call it that. So anyway, he bounced around, he slept on friends' couches and, family and, all that kind of stuff. So his brother ended up coming to Montreal, and then Elon ended up attending Queen's University in 1989. And he said this in the book, and I clearly remember this. He said that he picked Queen's because he thought the women were better looking there, and that's why he didn't go to Waterloo. So anyway, all goes well there, and then in 1992, he transfers to the University of Pennsylvania on a scholarship, and he tells his brother that he wants to work on electric cars, he wants to make rocket ships, and he wants to, adopt solar energy. So in 1994, him and his brother start this company called Zip2. And basically what Zip2 is it was Yelp before Yelp. And if you don't know what Yelp is, it's basically, it's an app that you can download and you can search up restaurants. So say you search up I don't know, it's not for like chain restaurants, it's like individual, mom and pop restaurants, right? So say you search up some Italian restaurant, and then it'll tell you people review it, people give it ratings, and all those types of things. So they were basically Yelp before Yelp. So it was kind of rocky there. He was appointed the CEO, and then apparently there was some how do you call it? There was some adversity going on, and they had a board of directors, and the board of directors didn't want Elon to be CEO because they thought that he was taking it in the wrong direction and this and that and whatever. So anyway, he ends up leaving Zip2 when he leaves with 12 million, and then he goes and he starts PayPal. And basically PayPal revolutionized banking and payments and all those other types of things, because before e-transfers and before all these other types of things, it was all through PayPal, right? I vividly remember that. I'm pretty sure PayPal takes debit now, but I vividly remember that I wanted to buy something, it was when I was a kid, and you needed a credit card for it. And then I didn't even know what a credit card was. I had no idea, right? But PayPal revolutionized banking, and I'm pretty sure you can add debit on it now. But anyway, whatever, beside the point. So he starts PayPal with his brother, and it's all going pretty decent. Obviously PayPal blossomed into what it was. I'm not sure if it's still like that. I'm pretty sure everybody just sends e-transfers now. But anyway, beside the point. So they start PayPal, and everything goes well, and then everything doesn't go well. And basically, the board of directors, once again, they saw Elon as not taking the company in a good direction, and then the board of directors ends up selling PayPal to whoever. I'm not sure who it was. I actually don't remember. But anyway, so they end up selling PayPal, and then he walks away with $165 million. So he had $165 million, plus he had from PayPal, plus he had $12 million from Zip2. So now he has, about 180, right? And with this 180, he, if we're being honest, if everybody watching this video, was being honest, if you didn't have a vision like how Elon did, you probably would have retired. And that's just the truth. Like, let's be honest about it. Let's be real about it. But anyway, he had a vision for electric cars and solar and rocket ships and, all those types of things. And one thing that he says a lot in the book, or one thing that's in the book a lot, is that Elon wants humans to be a multi-planetary species. And he wants to, that's his dream. That's his ultimate, that's his ultimate goal. And that's what he wants to happen. So anyway, so there's two people that started an electric car company, and they called it Tesla. And then one of those people came into contact with Elon, and basically he pitched Elon on the idea because they needed funding, and he knew Elon had just sold PayPal and Zip2 when he had about 180. That was his net worth at that point. So Elon invested the most money into Tesla, making him the chairman, the CEO, or whatever you want to call it. So that's fine. Then basically what happened was they were trying to develop the first Roadster, the Roadster V1, and nobody could figure out how to prevent the batteries from overheating and how to get more range out of them, or more miles out of them. So the batteries were only going 40 miles or whatever before you had to recharge them. So, and that was all just like a prototype, and all those types of things. So it was all just like, they only had one car, and they were only working on one car. So Elon promises to deliver the Roadster by 2004, 2005, all these other years. And if you know Tesla, you know that they're not very good at hitting their timelines. They said that the Model 3 was supposed to be ready in 2017. I believe people in 2019 were still waiting for their orders to come through and be ready, and all those types of things. So they keep engineering, they keep working, they keep trying to develop this battery technology, and it's just not working, right? And they're running out of money fast. And one thing that Elon does is he contacts universities for physics, engineering, all these other types of things, and he asks the professor for their brightest student or their best student, and then he basically goes to that student and he offers them a job. And the student can either accept or not accept. And then what he would do is he would go to other companies, say for example Apple. So he would set his eyes on an engineer at Apple, and then he would basically offer them a job. He would say, "You lead Apple and I'll double your salary." And then obviously the person could say, well, either yes or no. So that was one thing that he did a lot to get the best people, right? I remember one quote from the book. And basically what it said was, Elon would rather have one great engineer than 3 mediocre engineers. So that's his way of thinking. That's what he likes. He'd rather have 10 amazing engineers than 100 mediocre ones. So anyway, so they end up figuring out the battery technology just before Tesla goes bankrupt. And then everything kind of blossoms, but it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows behind the scenes. He allegedly worked, 80 to 100 hours a week, so between 16 and 20 hours a day, just because he had a vision, right? He had something that he wanted to accomplish, and he was willing to do anything, in order to accomplish that. There was a bunch of times in the book where his wife filed for a divorce, and he didn't even he just signed the papers and done. He didn't try to tell her no, he didn't try to do this, he didn't try to keep her or persuade her or anything like that. He just said, all right, take whatever money and get out of here. And when I first read that, part of me said, how could you do that? But then at the same time, it's I saw where he was coming from. Because, see, here's the thing. When you have a vision and when you become obsessed with that vision, it's almost kind of scary, right? Like, you know, we've seen people throw their whole lives away over drugs. We've seen people throw their whole lives away over, you know, money and pursuing it and all that kind of stuff. But one thing about Elon is he doesn't care about like money. Like he doesn't care about his net worth. He cares about making the world a better place, right? He cares about having electric cars because it's better for the environment. He cares about putting humans on Mars because he believes that humans should be a multiplanetary species because it would give us a higher chance of survival, right? And when I read that, or when I read that, for me it was almost like this guy, you know, he's putting everybody else before himself, right? You know, he's saying, I'm going to take a backseat. I'll work 16 to 20 hours a day. If that means 3 or 4 generations from now, it means that they can survive and thrive and, you know, push humanity forward and propel society forward, right? That's what I think of when I read, or when I read that little portion. So anyway, so they end up figuring out the battery problem with Tesla, and you know, to prevent Tesla from going bankrupt, right? Then in 2012 they deliver the Model S, and then in 2015 I think they delivered the Model X. And you know, now after seeing the success of those two cars, you know, now Tesla's a hit, right? Everybody that said, you know, electric cars are stupid, it's just a fad, it's just this, it's just that, you know, everybody's coming back now, and now they want to be investors. When 4 or 5 years ago they said, yo, that's a stupid idea, you know, it's going to be oil and gas all the way, and you know, there's no such thing as green energy, and it's not going to make any sense. And then now everybody's coming back to Elon, running with their money, right? So then everything goes good, or everything is going good at Tesla. Now we jump to SpaceX. Basically, it's just like what I said before. SpaceX's goal is to put humans on Mars and eventually put them, you know, all around, right? Whether that's Jupiter, Saturn, doesn't matter. So what Elon wanted to do was he wanted to build a reusable rocket ship. So basically what happens is, this is how a rocket ship works. So a rocket ship, I'm gonna use this marker for example. So a rocket ship comes up, you know, it goes up to the moon, or it goes up to space or whatever, right? And then it falls back down to the ocean, right? And then you can't use it, it's unusable, right? And then you have to build a new one, and then you have to, you know, get all the fuel back, and you have to do all those types of things, right? So it's a one-time use. So what Elon wanted to do was he wanted to build a rocket ship that could go up to the International Space Station and deliver supplies and, you know, whatever other stuff, and bring new people up there and bring other people home. And he wanted to give this rocket the ability to come back down to the Earth and land on like a platform, so then you can reuse the rocket again. You don't have to use new materials, all you have to do is refuel it, and then you can have multiple trips of going back up and coming back down with one rocket, instead of having to rebuild all the rest again. So I just want to preface this part of the video by saying it wasn't Tesla and then SpaceX. He was putting his time into like both, like, you know, equal time, equal money into both, right? So he was already working, you know, probably 10 hours at Tesla, and then probably 10 hours a day at SpaceX. Anyway, so he sets out with his goal to build a rocket, the reusable rocket, and the first couple of tries, you know, they blow up, they fail, they don't don't do anything. They're not accomplishing their goal, and him and the engineers, they can't figure out why. And you know, they're burning through money fast. You know, it's not cheap to launch a rocket. It's not cheap to build a rocket. It's not cheap to pay engineers to build a rocket. It's not cheap for the materials. Nothing is cheap when it comes to the rocket industry. So they keep working. You know, again, 16 to 20 hours a day, 80 to 100 hours a week, and his life is crumbling, right? Because as SpaceX was not succeeding, Tesla wasn't succeeding either, right? It's only recently that the whole world saw that, you know, Tesla's on the rise, and then, oh, SpaceX is on the rise, right? Because they figured both out, right? But when they were down here, nobody really knew, right? Nobody had no idea that all these people were putting in all these hours, working all these days, you know, like all these man hours that were being put in, just working towards one goal, right? So I think they had 3 failed attempts at launching the rocket, and everybody at SpaceX was ready to give up. But Elon said, no, we don't ever, we never use that give up phrase here. And they kept working at it. They modified this, they changed that, they changed the fuel, they changed the materials, they changed all these types of things. It's all just trial and error. And eventually it works, right? And that was a very pivotal moment in the life of SpaceX. I think NASA ended up giving them like a $2 billion loan or something to continue the research and development on this reusable rocket. So then after that, obviously we saw the rise of Tesla, and with the Model 3 coming out, you're seeing more and more Teslas every day. And now the thing with it, see, like, Tesla is almost kind of like Apple, right? And if you don't remember, basically what happened was when the iPhone came out, everybody said, oh, it's just a phone, it's just another regular phone and this and that, and like nobody's really gonna buy it, and it's just gonna be like a fad. And it seems like I use that word a lot, the fad word. Anyway, so a lot of people just said like it's just a fad and it'll just pass by. And then obviously, Apple now the iPhone is Apple's most popular product. You have the Apple Watch, you have AirPods, you have all these things in the Apple ecosystem that they work seamlessly. And you open your AirPods and they connect to your phone, right? And you can switch it from connecting to your phone to connecting to your laptop with the click of a button, instead of say like a Samsung pair of headphones where you have to disconnect it in the settings and you have to connect it to your laptop in the settings. And it's nothing like that, right? And Tesla is almost the same way, because they make everything in-house, right? They don't outsource the work. They're not making the bodies, like they don't outsource the work for another company to make the body, and another company to make the motor, and then another company to design the car. They do everything in-house. They have a designer that designs the cars. They have the engineers that engineer the cars. They actually build the cars themselves. They make the motors. They engineer the motors, the batteries, everything. And that's why, I read this story, or I think I heard this story that, Japanese engineers got a Tesla and they couldn't figure it out. They had no idea how to figure it out. They had no idea how to replicate it. They had no idea how to do anything like that. And that's what happens when you keep everything in-house. That's what happens when you keep everything kind of tight knit. And because then if Elon wants to change the door handles, all the door handles to be black, he can make one call to the designer, and he can say let's make all the door handles black, and there you go, all the door handles are black, right? He can say, okay, let's change the rims to be yellow, and then same thing. He makes one call, all the rims are yellow. Whereas with other companies, if you outsource the work, you'd have to jump through loops of people, and you'd have to say you don't get a hold of this person, and then that person doesn't tell the next person to tell the next person, and then the rims aren't yellow for however many cars that get made. So that's why it pays off to keep it tight knit, to keep everything in the house. Overall though, this book right here, I mean, I don't even know how to say it. This book is just amazing, and that's like, I don't know if it's just because I'm a fan of Elon, but Ashlee Vance, the guy that wrote the book, he definitely did it justice. And this book, to me, it's more than I ever expected. And it says right here, from the Washington Post, a tremendous look into arguably the world's most important entrepreneur. And I truly think that's true, if that made sense. This guy, he's shown time and time again that he won't take no for an answer. And he had a vision about electric cars and solar and rocket ships and all those other types of things, and he made it come true, right? Like, he worked 80 hours a week, he worked 100 hours a week, he pushed all these people, he hired all these people, he put every last penny that he had into these companies, and on the verge of going bankrupt many times. And he persevered. I think we all have something. We can all learn something from Elon. And to me, that's just, it's never taking no for an answer, right? If you're in sales and you have clients, and one of your clients says, we're not going to do business with you this time. All right, then you move on to the next one. But you don't sit there and dwell and like play the victim or anything like that. You take the answer, like you take no, and then you do your best to try to turn it into a yes, whether that's a week from now, whether that's a year from now, whether that's 10 years from now, right? Well, look, Elon went and he asked all these people, for funding and for, all the, like to invest in the company, to invest in Tesla, and they all said no, it's stupid, this, that, whatever. But he took that no, and he worked 80 hours a week. He worked 16 hours a day. He worked 16 to 20 hours a day. And he eventually turned that no into a yes. Yes, it was 5 years later, but then those people came running back to him, right? So first he was pitching to them, now they're pitching to him to want to invest in Tesla. So, I think that's definitely, everybody could learn something from this book. Everybody could learn something from Elon. Yes, the book is long. It is 400 pages, but I mean, the story in here, the content in here is just, I don't think Elon will ever let anybody into his life again, like to get as close to, him, other than, with this book. Because to be honest, when I got this book, I definitely underestimated it. I said, what, it's just gonna be like I've seen multiple videos, of Elon saying that he works 80 to 100 hours a week and whatever, and like I thought this was just gonna tell me stuff that I already knew. But to be honest, I had no idea about Zip 2. I had no idea about and like how much, like with I had no idea about the battery problems. With Tesla, I had no idea about all the rocket, crashes with SpaceX. I had no idea about any of that. And this book, it's like I said, it exceeded my expectations. It was everything I expected and more. So if you are an Elon fan, if you are a space fan, if you're an electric car fan, if you're a fan of technology and kind of propelling society forward and like pushing the agenda, and you want to read like stuff on the bleeding edge of technology, this book is, I highly recommend this one. Ashlee Vance, if you're watching, I highly doubt you are. You did this justice. And I don't know if Elon will ever write a book. Maybe he will. Hopefully he will. I don't know. Maybe when he like retires or something, because he probably doesn't even have time right now, because he works so much. But final rating for this book is going to be 10 out of 10, just because, like I said, it was everything that I expected, and it was more than I expected. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to watch this video. I am going to be reading this book next, right here. I'm going to be reading this book next, which is Crushing It by Gary Vee. I had started it a while back, but I didn't finish it right where this bookmark is actually. So I'm on page 58. Well, I am gonna start it again from the beginning. So that's gonna be what I'm starting next. And you're probably not gonna see the review for this next week. It'll probably be a regular video. So we'll kind of switch it up and jump back to those, and then we'll see where we go from there. But you can definitely expect that after I'm done reading this, you can definitely expect a review for that. And then I'm probably gonna jump to the Kobe book right here, and then I'll probably go with 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. I'm definitely looking forward to that one also. But yeah, like I said before, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. It's very much appreciated. Any constructive criticism, any ways that I can improve the series, please leave it down in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. Talk to you next one.
and then just work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in, 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that in 1 year you will achieve what they achieve. You will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve.